Joining us today is Dr. Esley Caldwell. Dr. Caldwell has had an amazing medical career thus far, spanning over 50 years. Welcome, Dr. Caldwell.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, yes. Mostly I was trained in internal medicine, but I grandfathered in family medicine, and I've been active teaching both. I've done some other work, but that's mostly what we'll talk about today.
Okay.
But diabetes, since we want to talk about diabetes, I was very fortunate. The program I was in, I did a residency at Ford Hospital in Detroit, and so I got quite a lot of diabetes, pure diabetes, close to a fourth of the program.
Wow.
Well, it depends on whether you count 2 or 3 years. You count 3 years, maybe six of my program, 5 or 6 months was in pure diabetes.
In pure diabetes, excellent. Well, November is Diabetes Awareness Month, and we recognize diabetes, and we're going to talk about that. Can you tell us, in layman's terms, what diabetes is and how we make that diagnosis?
Yeah, well, there are several ways of looking at diabetes. The way I like to describe it, when I describe it to people who have no knowledge of it,
right,
is that if you and I were in this room, trapped, and we couldn't get out under any circumstances, something happened and we couldn't get out. Well, I knew somebody outside, we could call them on a cell phone, and we just couldn't get out. Very shortly, we would be thirsty.
mm-hmm.
And so we called out, I want some water. I'm thirsty, I need some water. Well, perhaps Sally or somebody we know can bring the water. And they bring cups of water, bring lots of cups of water, but it can't get in.
Mm.
Okay, so they pile it up outside, piles up on the door. And we are unaware of the water being there, so we keep demanding more and more and more. The pile gets higher and higher and higher. Presently, along comes Tom. And Tom says, hey, you want water in there? Oh, let me show you how to do it. He knows how to, and the water comes in, so somehow it comes in. And now we have adequate amounts of water. And so we call for it and it comes.
Mm-hmm.
In diabetes, the cells are like the room. And sugar is what we must have, like the water. To get the sugar in, though, you need insulin.
Mm-hmm.
And so we called out, and if insulin's there, we can get the sugar in. The cell can get the sugar in. If insulin's not there, then the sugar will pile up on the outside of the cell. But basically, that's what diabetes is. It's a lot more than that, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it as water going into a room or sugar going into a cell and requiring insulin to get it in, if you get one, then that suggests that the person has diabetes and it's random. The person may be totally asymptomatic. They have no idea anything is wrong.
Okay.
The other thing is recently we've been talking about the long-term blood sugar, called hemoglobin A1C, with a number greater than 6.5, which means that your average blood sugar is abnormal.
Right.
It's sufficiently abnormal. Those are criteria designed to try to weed out the people who are not quite there.
Mm-hmm.
From the people, there's of course a large borderline people. People, for example, with 2 hours after a meal of 120, didn't make the 126, so they don't have diabetes, but they're pretty suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
Or people with a fasting blood sugar over 100, that's suspicious. But unless they meet the criteria, they don't have diabetes. And so you don't not have it, and you don't have it.
Okay.
And trying to, because they're criteria for it, because things happen when you have diabetes. One, increased complications and problems, and second, sometimes they're job things that happen.
So, what are some of the complications that can happen from untreated or poorly treated or poorly controlled diabetes?
Poorly controlled diabetes, there are many kinds of complications. The most dread complications are vascular.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things like strokes, losing your feet, heart attacks, depending on what blood vessels close up. It's a major risk factor for heart attacks and strokes, but also for losing your feet. And that accelerates when the diabetes is out of control. The presence of diabetes alone, just the presence of it, is elevated hemoglobin A1C, elevated blood sugar, increases your risk. But that risk is on a scale, And as the control gets worse and worse, measured by hemoglobin A1C, which is basically a number that gives you an average blood sugar over a period of time, as that number gets higher and higher, the relative rate of complications, particularly vascular complications, increases. That's one way of looking at it. Now, there are other complications of diabetes, a gazillion different complications. One of the things I like to think about, though, is the relationship between obesity and diabetes.
Okay.
Now, fat doesn't just live there. It just isn't just inert tissue. It's dynamic tissue. It moves and changes and goes. It moves and it gets laid down and burned, laid down and burnt. So it's a cycle. Well, every time that cycle goes around, it requires insulin.
Okay.
And so, if you have a limited capacity to make insulin, and you have a need for maintaining this fat, there's very little left to push the sugar into the cells. And so the cells tend to suffer because the fat cells, the fat tissue, has sucked up all the insulin and it's turning around. Now,
so weight loss, it would be a way to help.
When you decrease that amount that you need, because that comes out early. When you're making insulin, you have to maintain that fat 24/7, and it's dynamic and moving. And so the smaller amount that is, the more that's left over in your capacity to work your blood sugar. So anyway, that's my notion of it. The weight loss in the country, as people get heavier and heavier, fatter and fatter in the country, you find more and more diabetes because of that particular dynamic. Now, there's another one that really fascinates me. Not everybody who's fat has diabetes. Depends on your capacity to make insulin.
Okay.
If you have a limited capacity and a requirement for a lot, that makes a real problem. Another thing that happens is that the resistance to the insulin tends to increase as you get fatter.
Okay.
And so you have these factors messing with your blood sugar metabolism, the blood sugar going in and out of the cells. One of the things I like about that I've observed, and we'll find out for sure with the Genome Project, find out for sure this is actually true. But one of the things that I've noticed in history is that the tendency to conserve energy is related to diabetes. That is, two people sit down and eat a meal. A skinny person like me would use it all, burn that fat quickly. A person who tends to gain weight stores some and spends some. And that person's metabolism in the history of man, that particular kind of metabolism where they store some and spend some, is very useful in a family. In those things in
makes
time,
sense because
right,
of family.
Right, family. In times of history, the way the good Lord made us, or how we turned out, however you want to describe it, some of us would survive famine. And so all the different things that happen in the history of man, which is one of the reasons that diabetes may be so prevalent, because that conserving gene, that conserving part of the body, that the way the body is made so you conserve the energy, seems to be associated with diabetes. That's a historical observation as opposed to a scientific observation. It's now possible with the Genome Project that we can find out specifically if the genes exist to do that. But that's
interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So that's why we have more. And in times of plenty, it's deleterious. In times of famine, it's useful.
It's helpful.
Right. And so long term in the history of man, for us to continue to exist on Earth, you have to have somebody who's going to survive famine. And these people do that. And so they've tended to increase in numbers because there have been many more times of famine than not.
Next question is, and for people who do have problems with weight and they're not in famine, how do you suggest that they control?
That's a really difficult problem because that change in their body is involuntary. The one that happens in midlife or in the 30s, And people who have this particular tendency have an extremely difficult time losing weight. Dropping calories and exercise is not enough. You see it, you've probably seen it in practice, and you know people.
Absolutely.
You see them out there, and they just, I saw a guy, went exercising this morning, and one of the guys that I exercise with is enormous, two of them, enormous. Really, really exercise hard. They say they diet. It's, you gotta take that with a grain of salt, because turning down apple pie is difficult. So I don't know for sure how much they do. But I see them exercise. And I see them really, really put out. So they have muscle under there, but this big fat tummy is on top of the muscle. And they're toned up. They're really exercising enough to tone up. But the difficulty of punishing yourself for losing weight, punishing yourself for decreasing your diet, in this particular case, they have to go harder to go down. And then another thing happens. As their weight decreases, their body becomes more economical. And so the same number of calories that they decrease the calories enough to lose the weight, but their body shifted. And so that now, even though they're eating less calories, their body is working against them. And their body holds that weight, even though they start eating 2 mosquito wings a week and half an ant leg.
Right.
They're not eating much,
Mm-hmm.
but their weight won't change. And so it's very, very difficult, because the only thing we have, only way we can lose weight, is to decrease the calories to below what the expenditure is for that person's body. And I hear you, that's not a magic word, a magic formula, because everybody's so different.
But one of the benefits of exercise, of course, is we've seen a lot of patients, their numbers are better, they look better, even if there isn't that weight loss.
Right.
What have been some of your challenges as a practitioner with treating diabetic patients?
Very difficult, because there's so many parts of it. Now, we have different drugs that work, like we all use glucophage to try to decrease appetite.
Right.
Today we're going to do what they call a hero sandwich, and I was inspired to do a hero sandwich because we consider our men and women in uniform heroes.
Yes.
For us to be able to live the way we live. People in other countries don't have the freedom that we have.
Awesome.
So this is a dedication to them, and we're going to get it done. Let me start? A hero.
I would love for you to get started. So it's like a hoagie sandwich,
It's
right?
like a hoagie sandwich.
Okay.
It's just we building and we creating.
A healthy hoagie?
Yes.
Awesome.
Multi-grain Bolillo bun. I'm going to cut the ends off. I'm going to cut it in half.
All right. Now, where can we purchase this Bolillo bun?
You got this bun actually just from Kroger.
Okay.
We ran it.
Anywhere bread is sold?
Anywhere bread is sold. This
Okay.
this is one of the breads that are actually made daily. So it's not,
Okay, fresh.
something that's, these
Okay.
are made fresh daily.
Okay.
They don't have a long shelf life.
Okay.
We back to the ancient Chinese thaw,
And what's it called again?
the Goya
Yes.
mayo.
And just in case we have new viewers this month, somebody might not seen that last month. So tell them real quick what the Goya mayo
The
has
Goya
in it.
mayo is actually a Goya seasons, kind of Hispanic in origin. As you notice, the mayo is orange. It has a history of turning things orangish color. I love it. I think it's just the best thing in the world. But the mayo, the actual base, is vegan, and it's no dairy in it.
So it's not going to turn my mouth orange, is it?
No.
I want to talk to my friends after eating the sandwich
right.
be a little embarrassed. What kind of meat do we have?
We got 4 different type of meats.
Okay.
Boom. Hand sliced turkey.
All right.
Hand sliced chicken breast.
This is a sandwich made for a man. This is a big one.
This is for the heroes.
What about us ladies? We don't need as much meat.
Cut it in half. We're
Wonderful.
gonna cut it in half.
All right.
We have roast beef,
All righty.
pastrami, my favorite.
Okay.
We're gonna get some lettuce going here. couple Roma tomatoes.
All right.
I don't know if this is going to be able to stand the test of time here. Boom.
And that's your hero.
And there we have our hero.
So what other options could we put on the sandwich if we wanted some other stuff? Maybe onions? What?
You can put onions.
Okay.
You can put the avocado. You can switch mayo out for Italian dressing.
Okay.
Sun-dried tomato dressing. You can switch out the tomatoes for sun-dried tomatoes. Just all sorts of things. You know, whole onions, red onions.
Any veggies we want?
Any veggies.
Okay.
Or it could be all vegan. It could just be totally sauteed vegetables,
That would
roasted
be-
vegetables, grilled vegetables.
That would be awesome
So,
for those
it's-
who don't eat meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this
Awesome.
is the classic way, but everything's up for change,
For variation.
for variation.
I like it. Well, thank you so much, Chef Anthony.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you bringing us the hero.
The fat was so much less that she had excess insulin, or she had enough insulin to take care of it.
To control it.
Right, to her body's
Manage
needs.
it.
Yes, her body's needs.
Okay.
Because there's a combination of the need for insulin and the body's ability to make the insulin that makes the person have diabetes. I'm sorry, I'm yakking on and on.
It's okay.
Yeah,
That's
go ahead and
okay.
ask
You
another
do
question.
great. You do
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's challenging to take care of patients who have diabetes. And what about some of the struggles with the patients themselves? One of the things that I've had to challenge through the years is people not really, I don't want to say taking it seriously, but because they feel fine, this can't be something that could be
Yes.
harmful to me. You
Yes.
know, I feel fine with
Yeah.
my blood sugar being 220, so why would I
Yeah.
want to change it?
Right, or they're on insulin, don't take the insulin. I've had some serious problems, I've had people who did that, and that's at your peril. The issue you mentioned is one that happens with people in our job. I call it, at least some of it is art of medicine, but the only reason that they know they have disease is we say they have disease. They come in, they get a little blood pressure thing, feel fine. But the blood pressure is 220 over 160. Okay, that's bad news. But the only thing the person
is.
feels is that I told them the blood pressure's up.
Right.
Or I told them that the blood sugar is high, or they read it on the meter. And they feel fine. My cousin, who had a cousin with diabetes, his thing was to go by how sticky was his pee on the floor. When he urinated and dripped on the floor, how sticky was it?
Oh,
Or how many times he had to get up at night. He'd take insulin.
Mhm.
So he'd take insulin late at night, so he would not get up at night to urinate. Okay, well, because he didn't feel bad.
Wow.
The nuisance was getting up at night, so he would do that. Yeah, it's costly. Kidney disease, I talked about vascular disease, but kidney disease, eye disease. There are a number of problems that happen when diabetes is out of control. And it's that curve that goes up. The more the less control, the more problems. And so you get a person like my knucklehead cousin, who is no longer alive, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he paid a high price for his negligence of his health. But that curve, moving it back down, could extend his life. It wouldn't make him live forever, like none of us do, but he could have extended his life.
And with a better quality of life.
And
If
quality
he
of
ended
life.
up having
Yes.
amputations or being on
or
dialysis
or stroke or whatever,
Right.
or blind.
Right.
Right, all of those things could be improved by following it. But we're talking about the future. The person feels okay, and until one of those things strikes, it's hard to decide what to believe. How I feel, or what this guy over here, this doctor says I have, or
Right.
what that number is and what that number means. It's unfortunate that the way life is like that.
So how would you encourage that person out there who's maybe they've been diagnosed with diabetes for 5 years now, and they sometimes take their medications, and they feel fine.
Yes.
What would you say to them to help them to get back on track? I know there's a multitude of possibilities as far as the intricacies of their health and things that play a role, but
Unfortunately, the relationship I have with the person is a key determinant.
okay.
It's unfortunate when I'm taking care of them. The key determinant is how much how a relationship is. If I can have a relationship, a completely trusting relationship, where we completely honest with you, and I can go through these various things, and I can encourage them, and I can get them going on an exercise program, a diet program, and therapy program for whatever type of therapy they need for the diabetes. If they'll check the blood sugar, and if they follow their own blood sugar and follow how it is, then they can determine what to do. Then the control gets better. But it's so interpersonal, and it's so individual. It makes our job
So
very, very difficult.
It does. It
I think we
does.
feel like we can do a lot, because we can. We can't make them immortal. But hey, another 6 months of good life is worth it.
Indeed, it is. And so now we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit and
Okay.
talk about veterans. In November, we recognize our veterans, and you're also a veteran.
Yeah.
We'd like to salute and celebrate you.
Yeah.
We appreciate your service. Which branch of the services were you?
I was in the Army.
Okay.
I was drafted.
You were drafted, okay.
I got deferred 9 times, and I volunteered 5 times. Got rejected every time I volunteered, but I kept getting my deferments for 9 times. 9!
Wow.
I was
Wow.
going through school. I got deferred 9 times. And this is during the Vietnam era, in the 60s.
Were you ever sent to Vietnam?
Actually, I am a Vietnam veteran, but it's sort of crooked. I was in Vietnam under orders. I was stationed in Korea. And so I went traveling around the Far East, and we go into Vietnam, you have their orders. I'll go past Vietnam, I'll go through Vietnam. And so I went through, stopped, I was on the ground and all that. So I was actually in a war zone with orders. That made me a Vietnam veteran, but that's not, it's sort of crooked. I'm a veteran of the Korean War as well. I'm a veteran of 2 foreign wars,
Wow.
but both of them are crooked. It's
But we appreciate your service nonetheless.
So we're going to show 3 exercises using your body as the weight. It's going to be your resistance. We're going to start with a lower body exercise using large muscle groups. That's going to increase your calorie burn. The larger the muscles that you exercise, the more calorie burn you get. So today we're going to use the chair. If you have mobility issues, this is an easy way for you to start getting stronger in your lower body. So Maria's going to demonstrate the sit and stand. First, Maria, I just want you to separate your feet about the width of the legs of the chair. And all you're going to do is stand up. You're going to drive through your heels and come to a standing position. And when you sit back down, you're going to drive back through the heels and have a seat. Lightly touch, come back up. You want to do 8 to 10 repetitions and then do a second set as you get stronger. How does that feel, Maria?
Feels great.
Feels good? Where are you feeling it?
I am feeling it definitely in my thighs.
And thighs.
And my glutes.
Perfect. So the glutes, or the booty, and the front of the legs, maybe even some hamstrings pushing through the heels. Using some of our core muscles. Okay, we're going to go to the wall and do a push-up. Everyone has heard of a push-up? Maybe you've done a push-up in the past. Maybe you have attempted but didn't know exactly how to do it. So we're going to use the wall. Again, if you have mobility issues, you can use things around you. So Maria, put your hands on the wall about chest height. You're going to come back a little bit. Perfect. You're going to keep your body in a perfect straight line as you bend your elbows and bring your nose towards the wall. Now, if you can't bring your nose all the way to the wall, that's okay. Just start bending the elbows. It's going to work the chest. Go ahead and show us. You're going to use your arms, your back. She's using her core. Her belly is tight. She's exhaling as she pushes away, inhaling as she comes forward, and you want to do 8 to 10 repetitions. One more time. Perfect. Tell me where you felt that.
I felt it in my arms and my chest.
Good. Excellent. So the last exercise, so now Maria's going to demonstrate a plank. That's a core exercise. It also incorporates some upper body, so you can increase the strength there as well. We're going to have 3 different levels. We're going to start with the most basic and make it a little harder as you go. If you can't get on the floor, you can do this in your bed. So there's no excuses not to do it. So Maria, let's come on down onto your knees, into a full arm, and just keep your body like a full plank. Now lift your hips slightly and pull your belly button in. Neck is in line with the spine, so look straight down. Yep, perfect. And you want to deep breathe. So this is your basic plank movement. This is a timed exercise. You want to build up. So let's say you can do 10 to 15 seconds. Build up to 30 seconds and increase from there. The stronger your muscles get, the more endurance you'll have, so you'll be able to go a little longer. Okay, are you feeling that?
I'm feeling it.
Great. So now we're going to go to the second level. Down onto your forearms, toes on the floor, and lift. Again, head in line with the spine, so looking straight down. Perfect. Abs are in nice and tight. Maria, are you feeling this?
I am feeling it.
She's feeling it. She's going to have some rock hard abs when we're done.
I better.
And go ahead and relax. Drop your knees. And the last level is going to be the hardest level. Obviously, you're going to start with the beginner and move up as you get stronger. So let's go into our last level. Full arms, up on the toes, head in line with the spine. Perfect. Abs in, deep breathe. And she's pushing through her arms. She's using her legs. She's using her abdominals. And Maria, are you feeling this one?
I am feeling it.
This is great. Okay, and relax. Perfect. Well, I want to thank Maria today for an awesome assistance and all the exercises. High five. And thank you for joining us for our basics in Exercise 101.